little seed of peace in my soul. I'm gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. All this I pray. Then that seed of peace soon will bloom in my soul. Last one's love, if you want to sing along. There's a seed of love in my soul, a little seed of love in my soul. I'm gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. All this I pray. Then that seed of love soon will bloom in my soul.
Just about 44 years ago, a tornado touched down on this building and took off large portions of the roof. And today, about 44 years later, we're running at least our first and living memory shelter-in-place drill. So better late than never, I suppose. It's hard to think about natural disasters or other worst-case scenarios and make plans. I don't think it's anybody's favorite task to do, but it is important. And so that is what we are doing today, and other things, of course. So come, let us gather. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning and welcome to People's Church. It's a wonder and a mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time and the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. Today, as we gather, we will continue to show our care for each other's safety and well-being. My name is Sharon Sauter, and I'm a member of the Sunday Service Committee, and I am so glad you are here.
And as we begin, a few announcements. Today is a specialty class Sunday for our elementary school-aged children. So gather in room 6 and 7, which is right here when we sing you out, and then you'll be sorted into groups to play disc golf and make seed kits and have fun with music. And at the end of our service today, we are going to have a shelter-in-place drill. So the kind of drill we would use to prepare for a tornado or similar event. So those of you who are in the Commons have maps on the back of your order of service and handy dandy color-coded cards on your seat that tell you where you will move to when I say it is time. The leaders of our children's activities will know where to take them and so when the time comes, move to your assigned space in this building, or do your best to. And then we'll wait for the all clear from our preparedness committee. We haven't done this before, so we're going to learn some things, like how many people can possibly fit in some of our smaller windowless spaces in the church. When the drill is over, the children will return to their classrooms and then have their normal dismissal procedures from there. So if you have feedback to offer our preparedness team about this drill, or if you have questions about other aspects of this work or want to see our emergency action plan as it currently stands, Gordon Bolar and other members of the preparedness team will be in the foyer after the service, or you can reach out to them in other ways. For those of you on Zoom, there will be an abrupt ending to the your Zoom experience today, as our AV team will also be seeking shelter. So I encourage you to take a moment wherever you are when this drill starts to review your own plans for safety. What would you do in the case of a tornado or other emergency where you are? After the service, we have a variety of different activities happening in the church. Lunch for all of them will be served out of the kitchen. The coming of age class for youth and adults will be meeting in room L2, which is down the stairs. That's not our typical meeting space. A stewardship update. As of Friday morning, we have received pledges from 106 People's Church households, totaling $294,000 or $294,056.57. So this is great. And we are just $3,000 below what we raised last year and still have about 50 households that we expect to hear from. So we are going to break last year's total. And which is great. So if you're one of our lovely stragglers, this is your moment to push us through the finish line. You can make a pledge online at our website. You can fill out a blank pledge form in the foyer. You can mail or bring back the form we mailed to you. You can call the church office. I had someone text me their pledge amount this week. That's fine too. However you want to make it known, make it known. We'd love to hear from you this week because we need to build our budget soon. And we know that some folks aren't able to give financially right now, or their financial position is uncertain. And we know that's part of life too. And we are so glad you're part of our community. Now, let us sing.
Yes, I invite you all to rise in body or spirit to sing our opening song together. May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battling of the storm. This heart, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
It's time to light our chalice, If Violet would like to please come up. Lighting a chalice at home, you are encouraged to type in the chat box, "A chalice is lit" in your neighborhood, home, or street. Today our reading is called Who We Are Called to Be. Our chalice is a reminder that in hard times, our ancestors in faith acted with courage to bring hope and safety, to bring life itself to threatened people. We light it today as a reminder of who we are called to be in a world still dangerous and despairing. With courage and faith, we bring ourselves to the work before us.
In addition to our chalice flame here at People's Church, we have chalices kindled in the Millwood neighborhood, on Gordneck Lake in Portage, in Galesburg, on Gull Road, Matawan, and 2 in Parkview Hills. What a gift it is to all be together in time, even if we're not together in place. It is our practice to take some time when we gather to share our joys and sorrows with one another. And about once a month, we try to do that when our children are still with us in this room. So if you have teachers to their classes.
Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go.
People's people are generous people. And about once a month, we send our offering out beyond the walls of this congregation to do good and important work by supporting another organization. And today, our recipient is the Unitarian Universalist Association. There is a network that you might not see very often under the surface that supports this church, like how trees can communicate through their roots, a connection between us and other Unitarian Universalist congregations and leaders. We see the results more than the connection itself. We see it in the curriculum our religious education leaders use with our children and adults, the product of the work of many Unitarian Universalist religious educators. Almost every time a conundrum presents itself here at church, I think, what do other congregations do? So sometimes I reach out to the other religious leaders I know here in Kalamazoo. There's a very active text thread with about 24 of us on it. And sometimes, more often, I reach out to other Unitarian Universalist leaders. We've worked with a draft emergency action plan and policies from other congregations as we make ourselves better prepared for worst case scenarios. When we knew it was time to try small group gatherings as part of our stewardship work this spring, I reached out to Unitarian Universalist ministers who've done this to learn what worked for them. The name Grateful Gatherings came from one colleague. The format for those gatherings came from another. The idea to use pie charts to explain our finances from yet another. And the framework that I turned into the rainbow of generosity handout that you saw from another. So our stewardship program, which has been both meaningful and successful this year, is in part because of ministers in New Hampshire and Ohio, Maryland, and Massachusetts. And every Thursday afternoon for the past year, I've gathered with a small group of UU ministers on Zoom for sermon practice. I hear sermons and offer feedback. I preach my drafts and my colleagues help them get better. And the practice has made all of us better preachers. So anytime someone compliments a sermon I've preached, I think, oh, yep, thank you everybody else who's standing beside me. I send some gratitude to colleagues in Nebraska and Virginia and Massachusetts and the other side of Michigan. And I imagine these congregations thanking you all every time they thank those preachers for making it possible for us to spend that time learning and growing together. So while not all of these are official programs of the Unitarian Universalist Association, they all happen because the UUA is the point of connection between congregations and between ministers. We are connected in ways that are not obvious. And we, as a church, haven't been contending that connection as well as we should have. Every year, the UUA tells us what they think is a fair share contribution for us to make to them to support their work. And it's based on our budget, not our membership. I know sometimes it was for a while, and sometimes people thought they shouldn't join the church because it would cost us money. That is not true. They changed it because they realized it was suppressing membership, and that's ridiculous. But this year, because of the budget challenges that you've all heard about a lot, we are only paying half of that fair share. So this special collection today is an opportunity for us to do better. So please join me in giving generously to the good and important work of our Unitarian Universalist Association. It comes back to us in ways we might not see obviously, but are in us and in our policies and in our programs and in our practices. The offering will now be received.
Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
Spirit of compassion, source of life, God of many names, we gather today in gratitude for our many blessings, for being in community, for the tender mercies of our lives. We also ache with grief, concern, and anger about the terrible violence in the world and the human capacity to inflict harm on one another. We seek solace in our seeming powerlessness. We hold in our embrace those hiding in shelters and mourning the death of loved ones, the tattered fabric of their lives. We pray for those with power to create peace, that they may recognize the fragile and valuable humanity of those across from them and see how we are all one. Holy Spirit of mercy, may all who seek comfort and safety find themselves in a place with no fear or hatred. And may all who suffer in pain or in anger be held in gentle, loving care to ease and heal their wounds. As we seek to build the beloved community, may we ever be guided by our faith in the ability of love to conquer injustice, in our ability to love beyond belief. May it be so. Amen.
Please join me in song from your seats. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Our reading today is called The Culture of Care by Zach Norris. There are two ways to think about safety. There is a fear-based way and a care-based way. The fear-based model defines safety only in terms of being free from crime and criminals, which is limited and limiting. What I call the framework work of fear employs four key elements: systematic deprivation, extensive and expensive systematic suspicion, cruel punishment, and often permanent isolation from the rest of society. The framework of fear has led to the traumatization of not just the individuals who've been targeted, dehumanized, and criminalized, but the traumatization of entire communities, unfathomable devastations that will be decades in the reckoning. Because trauma is as much a chief cause of violence as the result of violence, our current fear-based system paradoxically generates more harm than it prevents, and never-ending cycles of trauma. This moment presents the opportunity to take action toward a culture of caring and policies of caring. A culture of care prevents many harms from happening in the first place by investing in a social safety net, by building our capacity to relate to one another across difference, and by increasing our sense of skin in the game with more vibrant engagement on every level. Care-based safety also means we address harms in ways that hold people accountable and bring about healing. Safety is not tied to our capacity to watch our neighbors, but rather based on our capacity to truly look out for one another. We are safer when we act together than when we let ourselves be divided.
I invite you once again to rise and bow to your spirit or find a tall singing posture that will allow you to sing high notes. As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free, free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless greed, free from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need, a freedom that reveres the past but trusts the dawning future more, and bids the soul in search of truth adventure boldly and explore. Prophetic church, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.
Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a plan that we've been working on for the past year and a half. It's called the Emergency Action Plan. And all the details wouldn't fit in one sermon. It's 19 pages long. It addresses medical issues, health emergencies. It addresses shelter in place, the drill that we're going to have today, tornado, weather emergencies, fire, violent threat, inappropriate behavior by persons in the lobby or wherever in the church, bomb threats, even cyber. We cover as many of those areas as we can. I'm not going into all the details, but a few things I can tell you. It's team-based, and I'll introduce the teams in just a minute. It had input from other churches, other UUA congregations, one being Unity Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's appropriate for our values. It's geared and tailored to us and to this building and to this community. We consulted with our staff, other committees such as building and grounds, other people within the church, other congregants, and obviously the board, which I sit on. And I feel like it's been a thorough and hard-charging search. I'll come back to that word search in just a second, to come up with this plan, the basis for this plan. And after I tell you who's on the committees, and I want to go into how it came to be, because I think that's kind of a remarkable story of how we arrived at this plan and what drove me in leading the committee and leading the efforts. First, I want to tell you about the Preparedness Committee members. We've been working for more than a year and a half on this. You don't have to stand up, but those members, in addition to myself, are George Herbeck, Gary Heckman, David Greenquist, Melissa Emmerich, Dan Baer, and Tom Hackley was on the committee for a while. Thank you to all those folks. Yeah. The next, I want to tell you that this, as we said, is a team-based plan, and it really fits into the reading that Sharon read. You know, we look after each other, and it's what we do here in People's Church. We didn't hire security guards, okay? Nobody's packing. But we do have teams that have volunteered to be a safety or medical team member on board. For instance, Dan Baer is wearing a pink tag today. He's the safety team on duty. There's 7 members of the safety team, but each week there's 1 safety team member on duty and 1 medical team member on duty. And those teams are trained. They've been oriented to the building. They've been oriented to the first aid, the fire extinguishers, all of the facilities, the AFib, the defibrillator out there, wheelchairs, all of that equipment, a first aid training. Many members of the medical team, in fact, work in the medical profession in some way. So we feel like we've got, about 14 solid people, around 7 on each team. There are 1 or 2 that go back and forth and could do either team. There are eyes and ears. They walk around before the congregation. They check in with the ushers. They check in with Reverend Rachel here and the people who are doing the service. Because those people will not be the first responder. They will not initiate the response, but the safety and medical team members will, and they know what to do. So there's a sense of security, I hope, that comes from that. I'd like to introduce first the members of the safety team. We have a slide that has their pictures. In addition to me, you'll see George Herbeck, Dan Baer, Don Miller, David Hunt, Mark Gernsback, and Diana Rankinen. Those are our safety teamers. Let's give them a hand. Yeah, thank you. Several of them are here today, as are members of the medical team. We'll show those. And you see Tim Sparling, Julie Schneeberger, Donna Kay, Pam Wadsworth, Gary Rankinen, Elizabeth Huff Willis, and Missy Howe Kurtz. Those are the members of our medical team. Thank you. You'll see them up and around and wearing a pink tag if they are on duty. But there's another side to this work. Reverend Rachel and I had a conversation a few months ago, and she saw my enthusiasm, and she saw the drive that I had to bring this plan into being, manifest into reality, which is going to be today. And I said I would like a way to introduce the plan to the congregation. And she said, Gordon, I believe there's probably a spiritual element here, just from what I know of your work on this and the committee's work on this. And she's right. And I probably thought I would be the last person up here talking about spirituality in any kind of way in this congregation. I'm more of a nuts and bolts guy, but I have to admit, you were correct. When I think about it, there was a spiritual element in this work. I think it starts with asking questions. Alan Hunt and I were assigned to look over board policy, the section on safe church. Other board members were assigned various tasks, and they were to report back. And we looked at it, and I said, I seeing the safety of our children, religious education, the abuse policies that we have in place to safeguard our children from abuse. I think these are great. These are wonderful. Somebody went to a lot of work. And I said, you're more up on the finance than I am. And he agreed. The financial policies here are very strong. So, I thought we'll report that back to the board, but I have a question, Alan. I don't see anything about emergency plans or emergency preparedness. Yeah, we do a fire drill. We have some first aid kits. It's not like we've totally ignored it, but we have not codified this into a formal plan that addresses all of the areas with the involvement of the teams and volunteers I just spoke of. So I brought this back to the board and I asked this question. I said, how come we don't have this? And I knew what was going to happen. Well, Gordon, you're so interested in this, why don't you pursue this and form a committee? And I did. And the first thing we did was we had to have a board preparedness policy that provided for a plan. So it's two things. The policy was a lot easier than the plan. So we did that. So it started with a question. I look over there at the second banner, and that's my favorite. I mean, they're all good principles, but that's my favorite UUA value. Everyone has heard me say this before. The never-ending search for truth and meaning. Wow. Before I ever saw that, I had the words in my head from a song by The Who in 1966. You know The Who, Tommy. This is before Tommy, and this is a pretty hard rock song. The song is called The Seeker, and it goes like, they call me the seeker. I've been searching low and high. I'm not going to get what I'm after until the day I die. I was reminded of that when I looked at that banner over there. I asked the Beatles, I asked Bobby Dylan, I asked Timothy Leary. He couldn't help me either. They call me the seeker. Now, this is a young man at 19 years old. But I think it kind of formulated my progress and my journey and my search through life. So when I saw those words, shortly after coming to this church, I knew I'd come to the right place. So I asked those questions. I felt like I had an obligation to ask those questions, and 1,000 other questions as we created this plan, as we worked on it, about the ethical concern that we should have for one another, for our neighbors, for our fellow congregants. It certainly came out of that. But I ask myself also, why am I so driven to do this work now? I don't have a professional background in emergency preparedness. Some of the committee members had a little more than I did in this area. George Herbeck and Gary Heckman, certainly those. Why am I doing this? Why am I so locked in that this is important? Why do I keep asking these questions? I had a moment in the middle of crafting this where I broke down and cried. And I listed all the areas. Here was health, here was active shooter and violent threat and tornadoes and fires. And I said to myself, Gordon, you can't keep these people safe. All you can do is provide a plan. That's as good as it gets, but it's a lot better than not having a plan. And I was reminded of a conversation. I think this is the reason that I broke down and cried with my son, who was killed in action in Iraq. And when he told me he was volunteering to go into the Army because we'd been attacked at 911, and he wanted to do his part. I said, son, I've tried to keep you safe all my life. And if you're going to house in Fallujah or driving down a desert road south of Baghdad, I can't guarantee your safety. He said, Dad, I would suspect the Army probably has a plan for that. I remembered that conversation. So we didn't stop and move forward. Let's see, can we have the last slide, please? The one with my name on it. Yeah, all right. That could be on a tombstone someday, I don't know. I have had the help of a group called TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. It's for Gold Star families like myself and my wife who've lost a soldier. And in that program, they say, honor the dash, because that's the life. Everybody has birthdays, birthday parties, wished happy birthday. Everybody has a funeral of some sort, celebrate, the death. there's a memorial service maybe, or and a celebration of life. I feel like what we're doing here is honoring the lives of our fellow congregation members, honoring their health, their safety, their welfare in that dash. And it's not over yet. And since I'm an English major and just love punctuation marks, I look at that question mark. Wow. That question mark, I've come to believe, keeps me alive. Because as long as it's up there, there's not four more digits there. When there's 4 more digits there, well, yeah, I don't think the first one's going to be a 3. I don't think the second one's going to be anything but a 0. But hopefully the others are going to be greater than 24. Yeah. It's kind of funny, but I don't want to get too morbid about it, but that's a spiritual exercise, looking at something like that. Not for me. I mean, it is for me, but don't look at mine. If that works for you, there's several good things in here. Yes, I'm time-bounded, but I still have time. And that question mark represents the questions that I'm going to continue to ask. The never-ending search, or as the Who said, till the day I die. And I'm okay with that, going out asking questions. I am. I haven't answered all the questions. Since I joined this church, I think I have better questions, more focused questions, more meaningful questions that are likely to result in truth and meaning. So I love that question mark. And I embrace it and maintain that ongoing spirit of inquiry. That drove at least my actions, and I think probably some of the Preparedness Committee members, in creating this plan. And my personal search really has been guided by, at least 3 statements, 2 of them questions. Reverend Jill, before Reverend Rachel, for those of you who may not have been here before that, used to conclude the service with this statement, admonition, I would say. May you go forth and see the world as it really is. Wow. I was dumbfounded when I heard those few simple words. And I think to have to create a plan like this, you have to have that in mind. How is the world? Well, sometimes the world can be a pretty threatening place. But also, you have people who have your back. You have friends. You have people who look out for you, and you look out for them. So that's also how the world is. And of course, we're connected to the web of life. Something else that Reverend Rachel said, and I see in the words of the hymn today, as tranquil streams, a few weeks ago in the sermon. I thought you invented these, but you stole them. Yeah, that's it. No, you used them very wisely in a sermon. We revere the past here in this church. We revere the past, but we trust the dawning future. I think this plan does that. It certainly reveres where we came from, who we are, our values. But it also lays down a basis for trust in a plan that has been crafted by people looking out for all of us. And then Donna McClurkin. Is Donna here today? Well, if she's not, or listening by Zoom, Donna asked a question in the board meeting very early on, and she said, Gordon, when you finally create this plan, this is, a year and a half ago, how will you measure success? What will success be like, feel like? And I can't say that I'm not going to talk to each of you down the road, not today. I can't say that there won't be an instrument, but I can say this. The phrase that you used there and was used in the song, Reverend Rachel, revere the past, trust the dawning future. I think what success feels like, at least today, at this moment for me, is there's somewhere in that valley, in that gap between the past, revering the past, and trusting the dawning future, okay? And we've got a lot of past to revere. We built this new addition. We built this building. Had to do a couple of campaigns to do it. We got through COVID. We devised a plan, a very successful plan, to get through that, and we did it. Not everybody did. I mean, as an organization, as a church. Last fall, we had a successful pledge campaign. We're in the middle of another one now. We've got a record of success. We've got something in our past to revere. And we've got something in to trust. We look at our children in religious education, and that's our future. And the new members in this church, and the new families who have joined it. That's what it feels like right now at this moment. I would answer Donna's question. Very good question, Donna. Keep asking those questions. She was on the board at that time. She's not right now. That's where we are. Finally, I'm going to leave that up there. I'd like to read a poem, and it's a poem that some of you may be familiar with because I read it in the poetry service last year. And it's called I Do the Math. And you can see how maybe it fits in to the spiritual work that's gone into the plan now. Because I was writing this poem at the same time we were writing the plan. And I didn't even think the two were connected. You can see what you think. In the third grade, I did the math. Addition and subtraction mostly. Didn't know what it was for or why I had to do it till my father said to me, do the math. Because someday you might be asked, 56 minus 23 equals what number? Pause. Well, son, longer pause. I'm still doing the math, Dad, in my head. So he took me out to buy school supplies at a Woolworth store with creaky, unlevel floors. And my father said, see, someone didn't do his math. And then he presented me with what he called my tools to do the math. I got a pair of safe, dull, rounded scissors that wouldn't even cut a harvest moon out of a piece of yellow construction paper. Not much use in doing the math. But I also got a red Big Chief pencil and a lined Blue Horse notebook. Yeah, I got a jar of white paste. I left the lid open, and when the paste dried into chunks, I used the jar as a rattle for Big Chief's war dance before he rode off on Blue Horse. They both got bored like me doing the math. But I did the math while I chewed on the red pencil and spit flakes of red pencil paint down on the rump of Blue Horse, like this. Wasn't pretty, but I did the math. 65 years later, I stand looking at my father's headstone. January 16, 1911, April 1, 2002. And I say out loud, 2002 minus 1911 equals what number? I do the math. And then again, I say out loud my own birthday. March 9, 1948, dash, question mark. So, question mark minus 1948 equals what number? I'm still doing the math, Dad. In my head. So, yeah, do the math. I still do.
All right, one last time, I invite you to rise, embody your spirit to sing our closing song together. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, still with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close ebbs out life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. Oh, thou who changes not, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. Ills have no weight, and tears no bitterness. Where is death's sting? Where, grave, thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Preparedness Committee. Thank you, medical team. Thank you, safety team. It is hard to live in this world where we cannot guarantee our safety or anyone else's. And yet there are things we can do to make us safer. And to live in that paradox is one of the most painful things I think about being a human. Our aspirations are no guarantee, and yet we still try. So may we go forth and see the world as it is. And may those of us here in the Commons look at our color-coded maps and our color cards and begin our shelter in place drill. And those of you on Zoom, go in peace, go in love. I'm so glad you were with us.